Okay, let's just dive right in. We're about to take a journey through, well, the grandest story ever told. And this isn't some tale about distant planets or ancient kings. No, this is the story of how you got here.
I mean, really think about that for a second. We're going to rewind the clock, past all of human history, way past the dinosaurs, even past the first strange fish crawling out of the sea, all the way back to the very first chapters of a story that, believe it or not, ends with you, right here, right now.
Because that's exactly what this is. You know, every ancient cell, every fin that pushed against the mud, every single shaky step onto dry land, that was all just a prelude. This isn't just their story, it's the preface to yours.
So, if we want to find our oldest ancestor, we have to go back to the very beginning, to a world you probably wouldn't even recognize as home.
Yeah, forget the blue oceans and green continents you're picturing. The early Earth was, well, it was a mess, a violent, chaotic chemical laboratory. Imagine volcanoes erupting under this hazy orange sky, meteors constantly raining down. The air itself was toxic. There was no plan, no goal, just the raw, relentless laws of chemistry and an almost unimaginable amount of time.
And then, out of all that chaos, against odds that are just staggering, it happened. The single most important event in our planet's history. A tiny bubble of molecules came together, a bubble that could do two incredible things: survive and make copies of itself. This wasn't just complicated chemistry anymore. This was life. And get this, every single cell in your body is a direct, unbroken descendant of that first one.
Now, what's really wild is the sheer scale of it all. Just look at this timeline. You've got the first cell way back at the start, and then this explosion of complex animals way over here on the right. But what about that huge stretch in the middle? That's about 3 billion years. For most of Earth's history, the world was silently ruled by single-celled organisms, just quietly doing their thing, slowly changing the planet and pumping oxygen into the atmosphere.
Okay, so after that long, quiet period, life was finally ready for its next big move. It was time to start experimenting, to get a little more complex. And this right here, this was one of the most incredible leaps forward. At some point, one cell swallowed another one. But, and this is the crazy part, instead of digesting it, they formed a partnership. The smaller cell became like a dedicated power plant inside the bigger one. We call them mitochondria now. This one act of cooperation, a chance encounter that maybe only happened once in history, created the powerful, complex cells that are the building blocks for every animal, plant, and fungus on Earth today.
Having this new cellular engine was like slapping a turbocharger on evolution. Suddenly, the pace of change just went into overdrive, setting the stage for a burst of creativity the world had never, ever seen before.
And that was the Cambrian explosion. For the first time, you had active predators, which meant you needed prey, and that sparked a full-blown biological arms race. Complex eyes evolved to see, armor evolved to protect, and specialized limbs evolved to chase and to escape. In what was really just a blink of an eye in geological time, nearly all the major animal blueprints that exist today just appeared.
So life had totally conquered the oceans. But there was this whole other world, a vast, silent one, just sitting there, untouched. It was waiting for its own great adventure, the journey onto land.
And let me tell you, this was no small step. I mean, leaving the water meant you had to fight gravity, figure out a whole new way to breathe, and stop yourself from just drying out in the sun. But some fish hanging out in the shallows had these sturdy, fleshy fins, and over countless generations, those fins they used for pushing through the mud became the very first limbs strong enough to haul a body onto the shore. But the real game changer, the innovation that truly unlocked the continents, was the amniotic egg. It's basically a personal pond inside a protective shell. This meant animals could finally reproduce far away from the water. This freed up the reptiles to spread all across the globe and led to an incredible era of diversification, which gave rise to some giants that would rule the planet for over 150 million years, the dinosaurs.
So for 150 million years, the dinosaurs were on top. It must have seemed like their reign would just last forever. But, you know, history has a way of turning on a dime.
It all happened in a single day. An asteroid the size of a mountain slammed into the Earth. The world of the dinosaurs just vanished in a global winter as dust and debris choked the sky. This wasn't just an extinction event. It was like someone hit the reset button for the entire planet. So here's the crucial lesson, right? In a stable world, being big and strong are winning traits. But when that world suddenly collapses, those same traits become a huge liability. The giants, they just couldn't adapt. But scurrying around in their shadows, mostly at night, were these small survivors, our mammalian ancestors, and their time had finally come. You see, in that cold, dark world after the impact, these mammalian traits became winning lottery tickets. Being warm-blooded, having fur for insulation, caring for your young to make sure they learned and survived, and having a more flexible, adaptable brain, these things allowed mammals to not just endure, but to absolutely thrive and explode into all the empty roles the dinosaurs left behind.
And it's within this new age of mammals that our own, very recent story really kicks off. The journey towards a mind that can actually look back on this entire history and try to make sense of it all.
It seems to have started with a really important trade-off. As the climate changed and forests turned into savannas, some of our primate ancestors started walking on two legs. Now, this was a compromise. It put a lot of stress on our skeletons. Hello, back problems. But the benefit was world-changing. It freed our hands.
And this is how everything changed. Each new step built on the last one, creating this powerful feedback loop. You see, better tools led to better food, which fueled bigger brains, which in turn created even more complex tools, and eventually, language. This whole cycle gave birth to culture, the amazing ability to pass knowledge down, not through genes, but through teaching.
Which brings us to the final and maybe the most profound part of our entire journey. The moment when one little branch on the massive tree of life develops the ability to see the entire tree.
You know, it's so tempting to see ourselves as the finish line, right? The pinnacle of this whole process. But that's just not how evolution works. It's an unending, continuous response to the present moment. Change is the only constant. And believe me, our chapter is still being written.
Just let that sink in. The very stuff we're made of, matter forged in the heart of distant stars, came together on this little planet. And over billions of years, it organized itself into something that can ask the question, where did I come from? We aren't separate from this story. We are this story. We're a part of the universe that's finally waking up and becoming self-aware.
So, from a single cell to a mind that can contemplate the cosmos, the journey has been absolutely incredible. And it leaves us with the biggest question of all. As the current custodians of this 4 billion-year-old legacy, what happens next?